And we are live. Welcome to another episode of the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast, episode 142 here. Joining you on July 2nd. I got my brother here, Casey Breyer here, and Brian, the main man, Johnson, joining me for another episode here on the Fatboy FadeAway Sports here at Variety Sports Network as well. Be sure to follow us there at Spotify and all the other great podcasts there. I was on a couple this week. I did a top 5 candy draft, gentlemen. I took Snickers #1, so make sure you go check that out. I was on with Brandon and Jimmy there. Maybe you guys have a different version of that. Well, we can get into that later in the show as well. But we got a lot to get into today. We got NBA free agency to get into. I got a look back segment we haven't done in a while here. I think you guys might enjoy. And then we got, of course, our question of the week. And then I got a little bonanza, a little July 4th bonanza here. And then, of course, our winners and losers of the week. Casey, how we doing?
I'm good, man. It's been just a blessed couple of days, man. Spending time with the cousins coming down from Reno. Surprisingly, went swimming. Ate hella good food as always at mom and dad's, and yeah, it's been a badass weekend so far. What about you fellas?
I played that game categories yesterday with them as well. The game got a little intense. We got a little intense with that. We did a little Catan. That game got a little intense as well. It was good seeing Sophia and the cousins. You're right for sure. Brian, were you Money in the Bank yesterday? Did you watch it?
Yeah, I thought most of it was kind of weak, but the best part was Roman Reigns being pissed off because the Usos beat him. I was kind of hoping Sami Zayn would come out and start dancing in front of him.
Now, I watched the first part of that when they were doing the Money in the Bank. They had the ladders up for is that for every wrestling match? That's the point, is they have ladders for every one of them?
Yeah, you can take out a ladder for any match, but I mean,
Gotcha.
it's mainly for the briefcase.
Gotcha, but that's the point of it, is for every unless somebody's like, I guess, 9 feet tall, you don't need a ladder. All right, Case, did you watch it yesterday? I think Casey froze there, Brian. Brian, let's keep it moving here. Maybe Casey will jump back on here. All right, so let's look into what I wanted to get into first, Brian. But first, before I do that, I had to give a couple shout outs here. Like I said, follow the guys at Variety Sports Network. Be sure you check out the guys at Let's Be Real podcast. It's funny, we were doing the Twitter thing. I was trying to kind of follow around, but you get blocked now because you only get 600 views or something weird like that. So it's you can only do so much. So I was like, yesterday I was trying to figure out what was going on, but then I was able to put obviously the two and two together. But with that said, be sure you follow those guys at Let's Be Real, 3 the Hard Away, Far Under the Bench. My guys see Woody put out a podcast here just a little bit ago. Jimmy, Nico at Far Under the Bench. Make sure you check them out. My guy Ant also doing big things over there in Memphis. Ryan, he was on with me, his show NL Whip Around, his podcast. Make sure you check out his show as well. Of course, my guy Terrell, Realism Sports, special shout out to him and his family. I know he had something come up this week. I don't know if so I just pray out to him and his wife and his family. So Terrell, shout out to you and your family this week. I hope everything's going well with you guys, and you guys are in our prayers this week for sure. So shout out to him. And so with that said, Case, you're back here. It looks like maybe you're frozen again. It looks like, we'll see. But with that said, let's go to Draymond, Brian. He re-signs with the Warriors. It was all this controversy during the year that he wasn't going to come back, especially when you start out with the punch right at the beginning of the season with Poole. You know what I mean? So when you have that situation happen, he ends up coming back. Casey said it best, or no, Tyler said it best on Twitter. He said if he's following him around on a golf course, of course he's going to go. Of course he's going to side with the Warriors. So he ends up signing for the $100 million. The Warriors do lose White Dante there. They lose Dante DiVincenzo. But then it looks like maybe they're going to get Saric back with the Dubs. What do you think of the Draymond situation there, Brian?
I mean, that's probably why Poole got traded, because they wanted Draymond back the whole time. And that's kind of my opinion about the situation. Maybe they don't get along or something.
Do you think that's what it all? Do you think that's all, Casey? Do you think that's ultimately what it came down to? I don't think
Casey's frozen again.
Yeah, I think Casey's gonna have trouble today, folks. So Brian will carry the way here. I think with Draymond and getting the $100 million, it was pretty much at the beginning of the year when the fight first happened. I remember thinking, all right, he's not going to be back. That was my initial instinct when that first happened. As the season played out, the injuries occurred. You just kind of felt the way like Kerr was coaching, the way the Bob Myers situation was happening. And then as the offseason ended, you didn't feel any tension between the Warriors and him. So it did feel like that vibe. Even when like the Kings were kind of announced or the Blazers that he might get involved, I don't know. There was just something about it. It just didn't seem like it was real. So now with Draymond back, Brian, I feel like they do lose DiVincenzo, who signs for the next big deal, 4 years, $50 million. If they do get Saric, it helps with the size. I feel so like I still feel like they're missing that piece to compete out there, but maybe I'm underestimating. I feel like Kuminga still has to be the guy that takes a jump. But do you think that's almost too much money for Draymond? 4 years, $100 million. I think that's a good deal.
I think it's kind of a good deal just because I think he maybe could have gotten more on the free agent market. So I think I don't know.
I don't know if he could have, man. Who do you think? I mean, like that's the thing is like if you were gonna pay him more, that's why I always thought the Warriors were gonna be in okay shape was because I was like, I don't think anybody's gonna be able to offer him a huge deal because like if you had like why would the Detroit Pistons give him 4 years, $120 million? Why would the Kings give him 4 years or 5 years, 150 million? I mean, you could, but it was like I don't know. To me, that would put your team in cap hell then for a little bit. So that was like the one thing that I felt confident about with the Warriors was that I didn't think another team was going to be able to re-sign him. I still think it's a lot of money for him at the end of the day. Like in 2 years, that contract's going to look like maybe a little bit iffy, but I don't know. Given all the contracts we saw earlier this week, I'm okay with 4 years, $100 million.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes teams overpay to get a player to come back. I don't think that this is a situation, but
what do you think about? Yeah, no, I hear you on that. What do you think about Lillard? Let's go to the Lillard part of that. He ends up getting traded, or he ends up requesting a trade. It's funny. We did the show last week, Brian and I. We had Chris on, and we were talking about him. Will he be a Blazer the rest of his career? And then he ends up getting he ends up requesting a trade a few days later. It was weird that he kind of did it the day after the first day. So like you have obviously day one of free agency, right? Then day two, he jumps out and says he requests the trade. My guess is he must have said something earlier, but if he did say it the day after the first day of free agency, in some ways that's kind of puts the Blazers in a tricky spot as well. Because they go out and sign Grant to like a 5-year, $160 million deal, something crazy like that. So then maybe it puts the Blazers in a spot where they're like, now you request a trade. We went to sign him. I'm guessing that wasn't the situation. Obviously, Lillard's been out there a while. He's going to get the benefit of the doubt. Do you think he ends up with the Heat? It sounds like that's the team he prefers to go to.
Yeah, but I mean, he doesn't have a no trade clause. So basically, they could just deal him to whoever gives them the most draft picks.
Okay, so that kind of asks my next question. Then, where do you think Dame will end up? In the sense of, or not that, where do you think the Blazers owe it to Dame to trade him to the spot he wants to go? Like, do they owe it to him? Like, because he's been there for 10 years now. You know what I mean? Do they owe it to him, or maybe 12? Then do they owe it to him to send them to the Heat, even though they might not? They only get like Tyler Hero back and somebody else. Like, what do you think about that?
I don't know. I just feel like sometimes when you request trades, it kind of upsets the franchise. So I don't know if they feel like
he's been there 13 years.
Yeah.
I don't know. Right?
I don't think they put enough around him to keep him happy.
No, they never could end up winning enough to do it. I think the big thing with Dame is, I think he's going to end up on Philadelphia. I feel like that's where he's going to end up because I mean, for Miami, I guess to me would be the favorite because I guess Tyler Hero is maybe the best player they can get back in a deal. Maybe he's the best player, but I don't know. That seems like a tough spot to go. So
yeah, I mean that seems like something Philly would need Lillard.
A team I heard that I thought was kind of interesting was possibly the Spurs because they got the rookie now. I thought that would be kind of an interesting one if he ended up with Victor.
But then you go back on a bad team again.
Well, he might be, but he might be with a generational talent too that could help him win a championship in a year or two as well. And players might want to go to him. I just thought it was kind of interesting. And he would be coached by Popovich as well. I don't know, maybe he likes Popovich, but I thought that was kind of an interesting team as well that possibly he could go to. the other thing with Dame that obviously always kind of like with his players getting paid, right? Like he's got the big contract already, but you always see this in NBA free agency. It's just you're kind of always amazed by some of the big contracts that come back. But then when you look at it with perspective with some of the other players as well, it's not like a huge deal, Brian. But like I think like the Rockets have come out and they've like spent a ton of money on players, and I'm not really sure if I kind of agree with all their signings. They've ended up with they ended up with Brooks. They ended up with Van Vliet from the Raptors. So they've made a couple big deals, and he got over $130 million. Casey kind of trying to jump back in with Case. How you doing?
I'm trying to get this thing figured out. Hopefully, I'll be able to last throughout the show.
Now we'll see if we can get it going here. Hey, let's go back to Draymond then real quick since you're back with us for a few minutes. What do you think of the 4-year, $100 million deal? Obvious good thing. DiVincenzo goes to the Knicks. Your thoughts real quick on the Warriors there.
I thought it was 3-year, no?
I thought it was
No,
4,
it's
but go
4.
ahead.
4? Okay. Yeah, I like the deal, man. I think keeping the core group together, just for that, I don't know, maybe last few years, maybe Klay Thompson, they're both at that stage. Curry, I like the contract, though. I mean, if he goes elsewhere, I don't think he's going to succeed anywhere. They had that topic. I think it was Draymond wins more rings with the Warriors or without. And I think if they just keep that group together, they got a way better chance than him, going elsewhere.
It's funny because, like I said, Tyler, when you were gone for a second, I said Tyler said that you don't follow when Draymond was following Thompson and Curry on the golf course. He was like, you don't follow a person on the golf course a day before free agency and then not sign with that team usually. So that was probably obviously a giveaway. You had things leading up to it. They lose DiVincenzo, and they might get Saric. I talked about as well. Are you okay with their roster right now? Going into the season, are you still kind of like it's just kind of, or are you just like, well, they just need people to step up, basically? I mean, how do you feel about that?
I saw Klay Thompson on the freeway. I could have asked him.
Yeah, you should have said, "What are you doing, man?" What was he driving? Do you remember?
It was like a pretty fancy SUV, and he was exiting going towards San Clemente, and I was getting on the freeway going the opposite direction. But I was like, "Is that Klay Thompson?"
Are you sure it was him? Was it?
Yeah, it was him.
There is fake Klay out there.
I mean, he had his window down, so I looked again. It's like, yeah, that's Klay Thompson.
No,
Brian knows his Klay. I like it. What do you?
I'm surprised you. I'm surprised you didn't flip him off.
No, I don't hate Klay Thompson. I probably would do that for Steph Curry.
Whoa! Oh, that's unnecessary. Right there.
I thought you only held. I thought you only held that finger up from my.
Casey, what do you think of Lillard, real quick? If you're out there still,
it's like he's frozen again.
Oh, dang it! He was out there for a second. Casey, you back on? What do you think of Lillard? Case, what do you think of the Lillard trade there?
We're
requesting a trade,
but yeah, I mean,
no,
not gonna happen today. Case. Casey has phone issues. I guess my guess is at work. He broke it, right? I'm not saying he probably dropped it, and then now he's good using somebody else's phone. He probably doesn't get the Wi-Fi with it. Too bad there. Casey was bringing a little bit. I wanted to get deep into the Warriors conversation, Case. So maybe next week, unless you can get better
we were talking about this, but I think the Rockets are definitely trying to win because they picked up enough of players.
Well, they should try to win, John. Yeah. They've been terrible for all years. I just don't think they're like necessarily the best fit together. Like if you get Brooks, and I mean, I like Fred VanVleet. I like some of their, but they're so guard oriented right now, and I like some of the bigs in Eason, and I don't know. It's kind of an interesting fix. They do have a lot of trade pieces. That's the one thing it does give them is now they have like a deep roster that gives them the chance that if something doesn't work out, maybe they're able to trade something, get something back in return that maybe fits a little better. The Bain gets a big contract. We talked about Sabonis gets a big contract. Probably well-deserved. Halliburton gets a big contract. It's funny, Halliburton and Sabonis both get the big deals with the teams that get traded for. That obviously was a good trade, worked out both ways. People are kind of ripping on the Bain trade or Bain signing. I think he got like just over $200 million. I mean, maybe it comes back to bite Memphis, but he seems like a really good player. That's probably going to be a multi-time All-Star. So, I mean, that's probably just going to be the going rate at some point for a player like that when you look at it. Kuzma ends up getting paid. Irving, Brian, he goes back to Dallas, the Mavericks. So you got Luka and Irving together. Do you think there's a chance it will fit, or is it going to blow up again for the Mavericks?
He seems like somebody that could work with him.
They did terrible last year when they went to him, though. they were the 4th seed at one point. They dropped all the way out of the playoffs. Where you had Mark Cuban taking games on purpose. The Irving thing with Irving is, I know like he's a great player, but how can you trust him to be there? And then so he gets the 3-year deal. I mean, you knew it was coming. Dallas or the Lakers seemed like the only teams that were actually going to give him some sort of contract, unless somebody came out of nowhere that kind of surprised me. But those seem like the teams that would give it to him. Brian, I don't know. Like, I mean, yes, you have Luka, but I mean, Dallas obviously had to sign him because they have to show Luka that they're going to try to, go all in, get players. So now you have 2 premium guards, and they can go back and forth like that. So we'll see if Dallas's other pieces can pick up the slack. They were not able to do it last year, and they totally had no chemistry whatsoever. The team was awful, especially the last month of the season. Like I said, Brian, they went from 4 to out of the playoffs there and got fined for not trying to make the playoffs at the end. The Bucks run it back. Like I said, Kings already, they run it back other than trading Holmes. Holmes does go to Dallas in that trade, I should mention. So Sacramento, basically in a salary dump, they trade Richard Holmes to Dallas. Dallas gets that trade. So Tyler chimes in here. He says, I like the Fred signing. These young guys need a point guard to develop. I agree with you about that on the Rockets, Tyler. I agree with you on that part of it because I think it does help them with that. I'm just a little – I mean, it's a lot of money, obviously, but if you're the Rockets, it does make sense. It kind of at first I was like, Derek Fisher. I'm like, all right, no, he's better than Derek Fisher. Like he's better than that. But like that's what I'm thinking, like big contract like that where the Warriors signed him. Brooks, what do you think, Tyler? If you're on there, what do you think about the Brooks going to the Rockets in that deal? What do you think about do you think Dylan Brooks can like kind of turn his reputation around, Brian, now that he's with Houston? Hey, he left it pretty bad. Sour taste there with Memphis calling out LeBron there. And then LeBron basically embarrassing him, the Lakers embarrassing him. You think he gets that fresh start with Houston, gets kind of re-energized?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely needed to go somewhere else other than Memphis. But this is just a fresh start where he can, maybe they try to build around him.
Well, they're not going to build around him. If they do that, that's not going to be a good decision because you can't shoot the ball enough. Brooks doesn't make others play better. I hate it. So he definitely disagrees with you on that one. I don't know. Tyler, I know Tyler is definitely not a Brooks fan. I like the intensity he brings on defense. Maybe that's the part like Houston, it would help is the edge. Because I don't know, Seawood, if you're out there, like I know Houston always did lack that edge a little bit when they would have like infighting all the time. Maybe Brooks leads to more infighting, but I don't know. Maybe it helps kind of mature them with Fred VanVleet, who did win a championship with the Raptors in there. So we'll see what happens with the Rockets. That was kind of like an interesting sign there. Like we said, Rose goes not back. He never had played for the Grizzlies, but he does go back to Memphis where he went to college. Had the the not so good ending right
in his college years.
Yep, the college years with Calipari there. I don't know if it makes a difference there, but it's kind of one of those cool little like reunite stories. Rose back at his college town.
Yeah, exactly. And they find somebody to somewhat replace Dylan Brooks.
Yeah, they end up getting that a little bit with it. I think Memphis, they end up getting smart. They seem like they're in a decent spot going forward with some of their roster moves as well. I thought they did a good job. Phoenix, it was funny. I saw this tweet where somebody was ripping on the Warriors because they were comparing what the Suns did. And I was like, they signed like guys I don't even know. And then Damian Lee. I was like, this is not. I don't care if the Warriors aren't signing these guys. I don't want them to sign these guys. I definitely don't want them to sign these guys at all. I know. So those were some things there. I thought with the Lakers, they end up signing Russell again. I was kind of interested if he would end up leaving. He stays there. The Clippers, they sign Westbrook. He stays there. The big one's going to be Harden, though. He seems like he's the next, what do we call, big fish there to go somewhere because now you have Middleton return to the Bucks. You had Lopez go back to the Bucks. I don't know, like Harden.
Where do you think he goes?
Is there anybody more dramatic in the way, like every year to year now is where he ends up? And it's always like these, I don't know what, it's always a team with red. It seems like the Clippers are the favorite, but So, I mean, what are they going to keep George and Leonard? But then I hear George is maybe going to go in the trade somewhere in a three-way trade. I don't know. At this point, Brian, I'm not sure what Hart. I mean, he was solid, but you saw him a little bit last year in the playoffs. We watched a little bit of that Celtics Sixers series. He's good, but he can't take over the game quite like he used to.
Yeah, he's just getting older, so he's not as.
Would you rather see him with? Do you think would you like to see him back? Like, he's not going to go back to Houston now. Obviously, that's not going to happen at all. No. I don't know like where he's going to end up. You hear these rumors. I mean, what do you really want to go back to the Western Conference? I mean, I guess so. I guess the Clippers, if he's going to play with George and Leonard, is the deal there that he could go to. To me, it'd be interesting if he went to Minnesota and they end up trading like Canada deal or something like that. That's what to me like an interesting kind of send him to Minnesota.
Yeah, it seems like the Clippers would probably be the best fit for him.
He probably wants to go to Miami.
Everybody wants to go to Miami.
Everybody does. I hear they have great food down there. I hear they've always had good food, but I guess during the pandemic, all the good chefs went down there because
I think a lot of it has to do with you don't pay state taxes in Florida.
That definitely helps with them getting free agents, it feels like at times for sure, too. All right, so those were some of the moves there. I thought the Celtics did good earlier in the week, too, getting Gallinari. I'm not the huge Porzingis guy, but obviously – or not Gallinari. They get Gallinari back, right? So that should help them. They get Porzingis in the trade. So I think those things will help them going forward. I remember I got Woj bombed this week. I got fake Woj bombed. It said Fred VanVleet signed with the Celtics. I got oh, great adult entertainment in Miami. That's also good. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yes. The strip clubs there, I heard, are the best.
The best, Brian. Brian, you've never been out to Miami, have you?
No, I haven't.
Have you even been to Florida?
No, I've not been to Florida.
What's the farthest east you've gone?
My grandmother used to live in Connecticut, so I would go visit her.
That's pretty damn far east, I'd say. That's for sure. All right, so those are some of the free agents there. If you got a couple of more, come on in on there for sure. I was looking at a few other teams. Who is it? Collins gets traded to the Jazz randomly in a weird trade. Clarkson, I see, resigns with the Jazz today. So there are just the rest of them. There's a lot of little minor deals out there, but we kind of covered the big ones that have happened out there. Most of the re-signings. What was the Bruce Brown? I guess he goes to the Pacers. I always feel like that's funny when you get a guy that wins the NBA Finals, a big key part, and then they sign that big deal with like a team. You're like, the Pacers? Like the Warriors would do that all the time. Like they would get like I said, I mentioned Derek Fisher. They would do it with maybe not guys that win a championship, but like Austin Crozier got a big deal. Like, you would see Maggette play well. He would get a big deal with the. So sometimes I'm very, very interested about these free agents. And along the way, there can be some really bad deals because of that. You remember Luol Deng getting signed by the Lakers? How bad? He got
was really bad.
4 years, $72 million deal he gets signed with them. I remember what they also that same year, you remember the Lakers, because I like ripping on the Lakers. They signed Mozgov that year after he came off the run with the finals with the Cavs. They signed him to a 4-year, $64 million deal. So he ends up getting an awful deal as well.
And I felt like Gary Payton just didn't work out with the Lakers either.
Gary Payton? No. Yeah, but they didn't sign him to a huge deal, did they, at that time?
I think it was just a 1-year deal, but I mean, he just wasn't the same with the Lakers than he was with the Supersonics. Yeah,
no, definitely. That was a bad one as well. So, I mean, those are some bad ones. And then you have the Gilbert Arenas one ended up not working well for a variety of reasons for the Wizards back in the day. So those are some of the really, really bad free agent signings I can remember. Brian, I also the other one that always struck me was like a very random one was Biyombo got the 4 years, 72. I was like, Biyombo got 4 years, $72 million. And then there was some guy on the Heat. Speaking of the Heat, the lefty, I forget his name, Tyler Anderson. I always get it wrong. I know if Tyler's out there, he can help me with it. He's that stupid lefty on the Heat, and he got that deal. And I was like, how the heck did this guy get a 4-year, $87 million deal? He averages 6 points a game. I mean, I get that he plays for the Heat, but it's kind of like the Gabe Vincent of the world this year. He kind of gets that big deal. He played well with the Heat. He got a 3-year, $33 million deal. So I don't know, Brian, in that regard.
I mean, that we're talking about bad deals, we could probably talk about Bobby Bonilla Day getting a 25-year contract from the New York Mets.
Dude, are you kidding me? That's one of the best ones of all time right there, Bobby Bonilla Day. The fact that you get paid that $1 basically $1.1 million every year. You know it's coming. That's a good, like, nice little balance check. You can save up for the year. Then you got that $1 million coming in. If you burned it, I guess you have that coming in the bag as well. So you're right. That's a good one. Tyler Johnson, thank you. I knew he would get it for me. Tyler Johnson, the damn lefty. I don't know why that name always comes up. I'm always like, how the heck did that guy get the biggest contract I've ever heard of? I got to look up what his contract was. 35. It was like 7 years, 35 million. Or no, that's a hockey player. It's not the same guy. So there's a Tyler Johnson out there as well. All right. Hey, I want to do a look back here. So when I was thought of the Lillard trade, I was trying to think of point guards. And like I said, comment if you have other point guards that made you the Lillard situation kind of reminds you of a little bit. So like Brian, or maybe Ryan, if you have a different sport as well. But so with Lillard, he's there. He requests the trade. What teams are going to get value back for him? Like, are the Blazers going to be able to get any value for him? Are they going to get totally burned in the deal? And I don't know why the deal of the Iverson and Billups trade always comes up to my mind when I think of Lillard. I know it's not the same, but I was Gary Payton, Allen kind of comes my way, but that Billups one kind of is the one that always stands out. And so to me, looking back at that trade where, all right, if you look at the Pistons end up, and this is a 2008, 2009. So this is the beginning of the 2008 season. 2 games into the season, they end up trading Billups. The Pistons, they get Iverson, right? But then they also trade Big Dice and our guy Sam. You remember Sam Sandwich over there? So you got him. Yeah. No, you don't remember. Thank you for lying about it. But yes, they end up getting traded in that deal. So if you look back at that deal, to me, that's one of those kind of classic deals that goes under the radar and it makes no sense from the Detroit perspective why they did this deal. If you look, they won 59 games the year before. They had made 4 out of 5 Eastern Conference Finals. I understand maybe they weren't good enough to beat the Celtics at that point, but then you end up blowing it up to get Iverson. I can't tell it with Dumars if he was trying to blow it up because the next year after that, LeBron was a free agent and all these guys, there was a big free agent class, or if he actually thought Iverson would help their roster, Brian, because they ended up after they trade Billups 2 days after the season starts. Okay, they end up signing Rip Hamilton to a big deal, which didn't really make sense because if you had 4 out of 5 championships with Billups, why are you now trading him at this point? So it's one of these weird trades that I always look back on where I'm like, Detroit just got totally burned in it, and to this point, they're still haven't really recovered from this trade at all. I mean, the Nuggets. If you look at it from the Nuggets perspective, they immediately, Brian, that year go to the Western Conference Finals. They lose to the Lakers 4-2, but they push the Lakers to everything they want in that series. I mean, they really do push them. So Billups comes in there. He makes the All-Star game. He did make it that year as well with Denver. And then he makes the All-Star game the following year, averaging 19 points a game with Denver. All right. But they do lose in the first round as the 4 seed to the Jazz when the Jazz were the 5 seed that year. So, but the deal, and then you look at, like I said, from Detroit, Iverson's not even on Detroit the year after because he's a free agent and they never have recovered. What's your thoughts on that trade there? If you remember,
I mean, it just looked like Detroit just got ripped apart. I mean,
but it was such a weird fit. Why would you think Iverson and Hamilton would ever play well together, especially when you're coming off 4 or 5 championships or 4 or 5 Eastern Conference trips? They had fired Flip Saunders too right after that season, and so I went back and read some articles up on it a little bit. Dumars, it seemed like Detroit had reached that point in their franchise where it was we have to make the finals. If we don't make the finals, it's a disappointment. We have to do something dramatic. That's what it seemed like.
And this seemed bad dramatic because Allen Iverson just wasn't a fit with the Pistons.
No, and I think reading back, Pistons fans, I could tell they were why are you trading one of our best players at 30? And they had signed Billups to a contract extension the year before to a 5-year deal. Like I said, then they signed Hamilton 2 days after the season start, or 2 days after they trade Billups. It just was a real weird thing overall. I wanted to say real quick about Detroit too. So that free agency, I told you, I thought it was a big deal for Detroit. I think that was the thing why they traded for Iverson partially is they could let go of Iverson. So they had a lot of money in cap space, and they end up signing Ben Gordon, Charlie Villanueva, Chucky Atkins, and Chris Wilcox. Those were their 4 big signings. And they, in Villanueva and Gordon, they signed big deals, I remember. And so after that point, the Detroit Pistons continued to go way downhill. And like I said, the Nuggets got that 2-year run for Billups, who a lot of Nuggets fans consider kind of one of their favorite players now because of that run with him, even though they traded him the first time when they drafted him. So
have the Pistons made the playoffs since that trade?
They've made the playoffs a couple times.
Yeah.
Like they made it that year with Iverson, but they got cakewalked by the Cavs. So that year they ended up getting Iverson. They still made the playoffs. I mean, they still had a solid team. But I mean, like again, you have 59. Well, you had 59 wins the year before. You almost had 60 wins. And you made the Eastern Conference Final. So to me, that's one of those like trades for me that goes down in history. And like I think of Lillard in the sense of he doesn't play that Iverson role, but does he play that Billups role possibly? That's does he get traded? He's obviously a little bigger star, I know, but that was kind of the trade that kind of came to my mind with that. And it was really interesting looking back on the trade where these teams went after that deal and what it led to for both franchises. Like I said, Billups, a 2-time All-Star for the Nuggets. Iverson's out in 1 year, and they get Charlie Villanueva and Ben Gordon and draft Austin Day. Those are their big things after that. And then they end up going downhill from that point on. So, and they said I think they signed Ben Wallace at a time to a bad contract there. So it was never a good thing for them at that point. So to me, it was kind of interesting looking back at that trade and the impact that made, especially for the Nuggets. And if you look at it long term, especially what it made for Detroit.
Yeah, because I mean that trade just did not work out for them.
Now. It was funny when you read some of the articles when you first look at it. Like I'm telling you, man, people were like, "It doesn't make sense for Detroit what they're doing, but it should fit well with Carmelo Anthony getting a true point guard." So it was like one of those things. Like right from the beginning, you knew that was going to be like one of those trades that didn't work out. Another one that I do like to look back at, though, we got to do one of these times, is now for me on that list. If you got one that I should look back on, tell me. I love doing stuff like that. So comment in if you have a good trade to look back on and dig deep. Is that I want to look back at that Gary Payton, Ray Allen one a little bit more and kind of how because it's Bucks, Sonics, how it affected both teams, where they were at in their career. So that to me is an interesting one. So to me to always kind of look back on because it was such a weird trade too at that time. That was like one of those odd trades mid-season, which it just didn't make any sense. Also, that Jason Kidd Marbury one always stood out to me. That one was kind of a weird trade as well.
That was a weird trade too.
All right, so that was a good look back at that trade right there. All right, Brian, I got a fun one for you. Question of the week here presented by Row One Brand. Use that code VSP15. You get 15% in the art gallery. Which Bay Area team? And yes, I am including the Raiders.
The Raiders, even though they're not there anymore.
The Raiders. I'll include the A's and the Sharks. Which team's going to win a championship next? So you got the Niners, Giants, right? You got our Sharkies. Right? We'll consider the Kings Bay Area. Well, no, we can't consider the Kings Bay Area. We'll go Raiders. We'll go you got the A's. What do you got, Brian? What team thinks gonna win?
You definitely gotta go. You gotta go with the Niners right now.
Of course you're going Homer with your Niners.
Oh, come on. They're the most loaded team in the Bay Area right now.
More than the Giants? The Giants would make the playoffs if it was today. We have Jimmy G. The Raiders have Jimmy G now. We have the quarterback that you had that took you to the Super Bowl. I feel like we maybe have a better chance now.
You just don't have the team around.
If you believe that, I have a car I can sell you. So you think the Niners even more than the Giants?
Yes, because I don't think the Giants would go to the World Series even if they made the playoffs.
Well, that seems a little negative, Brian. Come on, they're on a good hot streak right now because they lost to the Mets yesterday. Even though you talk about it. I was thinking the Mets, randomly about the Mets, nobody dumpster fires better than the Mets. Like for one season, like they'll randomly come back and have a good season. But if you dumpster fire for one season, no team can do it better than them. All right, Brian. So that's the question of the week here. Which Bay Area team can win? How about our Sharkies? They can get back in it, Johnson. What do you think? I'm surprised you think because you're saying the Niners is the answer there. I get it. I feel like that's a good, very clear answer there with the Niners. But the Giants do have a chance to do it first, Brian. Their season could end a little bit earlier. Oh, gosh. That would be a great trade to look back at as well.
That was a bad trade.
I remember when that trade went down, and I tried to justify it, Ryan. I was like, we need a veteran pitcher because we never had one either. Remember, we always kind of like as good as Zito and Mulder and they never could win that big game. It felt like, and I was like, well, Lester
But,
is that
but,
for the Red Sox.
but what did they need against the Royals? Offense, and they traded offense away.
Well, we had offense. We scored 10 runs in that game, and Lester couldn't hold him. He couldn't throw the ball to damn first base. Brian and Casey ended up right. You can't trade your 4-hitter. That never is a good thing. So that is a terrible one. Brian, Ryan, that's a very good look back one. I have to look back at that one as well. There's probably a few on that Mark McGuire one. Should we look back at who the A's got? Right?
Oh man, I'm sure we got nobody for him.
In football, there's not very many that you can look back at like that, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. They just don't have a lot of trades in football, period.
You don't think you could do a look back at with that right there? With a little look back with the trades there. So, all right, the question of the week, you have the Niners coming first over at the Giants. I think the A's could make it there, right? Come on, have a little respect. All right, All-Stars real quick, Brian. All-Star game. Let's get into it. But we got Ryan or Marshall Faulk to the Rams. That would also be a good one as well. Who did they end up getting that trade? Was it like was it Picks? Is that what ended up getting that trade? I forget what they ended up getting. Faulk because he went to the Colts. Was it Harry? I feel like it was a decent trade back. Maybe not. Because the Colts traded him with Manning coming in.
Oh yeah, because that was the reason they got Manning, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they drafted Manning because of that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who they got from in that trade. Let's see who they ended up getting there. Why is every time I hit Marshall Faulk or something like that today, it's coming up as a hockey knowledge here today? Sharks are not close. We could skip over that. Ryan, I'm telling you, I think maybe I hear they had the best draft possibly. They got a lot of A drafts, Ryan. They got Will Smith, great slap shot we hear around it. That's the joke going around it here. With it, I would think with the Sharks. I'm telling you, I think this is a good investment idea. If you just get season tickets now. You never know. Maybe they get hot. They make a deep run. That happens in hockey. I can triple my price and tickets. What do you think, Brian? Can't do that? Tyler Marshall Faulk. Hey, bless you, man. Hit that mute button out there. My God, have some respect for the customers. Picks out there. That's what they got for Marshall Faulk. Yeah, those are good look backs there. A couple I need to do for sure. All right, Brian, a couple trivia questions here for you. All right, before we get into the All-Star Game starters, who has the most home runs in All-Star Game history? We'll give you a couple chances. You had to guess. Who do you think? I'll give it.
I mean, we got to go back all time.
And I'll give you NL. He played in the NL.
Played in the NL. Oh, man.
I'm giving you a clue to start out as well. Can you guess a name? Give me a guess.
Can't.
You can't. You got to at least guess a name. Somebody that
man.
Who's somebody that you saw hit a home run?
I don't know about Chipper Jones.
Chipper, that's a solid guess. It is not Chipper. It's Stan Musial. You're only off by 56 years in playing time, but I like it there. He has 5, Brian. That's our trivia question there with it. All right, so that's the I thought maybe you could get it there. All right, Freddie Freeman, Arise, Arcia, Arenado, Murphy, Acuna, Metz, and Carroll. And the A's. All I see right there, I just see right there. Murphy would have been starting for the A's. That's all I see right there. If he was been there, that's all I see right there. So I get frustrated with that. Braves, just like I said, they stack those things. They stack that ballot like nothing over there. AL on their side, Brian, they end up getting
four Rangers. Adams gotta be happy.
How do you get 4 Rangers? Is it the Bruce Bochy magic? Is that what gets it in? Do you still watch the All-Star Game?
Yeah, I do. And then I always loved the home run derby.
All right, this year I'm doing the home run derby watch along, so you're gonna have to jump on for that one. All right, Brian. Last baseball thing I got with the All-Star Game too. I just wanted to point out the rosters real quick. It's always the same things: Dodgers, Braves, the Phillies. It's always the same thing there. They just the Rays and I guess the Rays and Marlins get somebody in this week. Last trivia question here. Bonus one for the A's. They got perfect game this week. All right, it's perfect for their franchise. This team deserves it. Their owner deserves it. It will not help them probably move. I mean, I don't know how much more of a fan you can get drugged through the mud as a fan, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's a perfect game against you on your way out.
Yeah, even if you try to root for them, and then next year they're giving you a big FU at the stadiums with it still going to be in Oakland next year. I mean, that's a different question. Would you kick the A's out if you were Oakland? Just be like, get out of here. We don't want, we're gonna let our lease. We're gonna give up the lease and just kick them out of Oakland. Or would you let them play there one more year for memories?
I don't know I don't know what the point of them playing one more year there is. I would say go to Vegas
just to live up to your end of the deal. Yeah. I guess just to live up to your end of the deal. All right. So bonus question: who do you think has now with them getting what MLB team has gone the longest without getting no hit? If you had to guess, so the A's were 9. They were like they had gone like something crazy, like 5,000 games or something like that. Or so. What do you think is the team that maybe has gone the longest without getting no hit? Where'd they go? They went 5,010 games without getting no hit. They were 9th on the list. There's 8 teams ahead of them, but. Can you name, if you had to guess, what team you think is the longest there?
I'm going to go the Atlanta Braves.
The Atlanta Braves. They were not. If you remember, Randy Johnson perfect gave them. Not that. Not two. So that would not be correct. It's actually, Brian, this shocked me for some reason. I thought they definitely would have been perfect or like no hit or something. The Chicago Cubs. They haven't been 7,920 games. They have not been no hit. So they're going to be, if they don't get no hit this year, they'll be at 8,000. So. I remember and the A's hadn't been no hit since like 91. Probably Nolan Ryan was the last one to get him in that game as well. All right, Bonanza time, Brian. These are our questions of the week here. I got some interesting ones, some fun ones that don't make any sense. But here's a good one. We talked. This is a basketball. We'll keep it slit. Did trading Jordan Poole solve the Warriors' culture issues? Are the Warriors better now with Poole gone? Are they going to be in harmony now with Chris Paul there?
Yes, because I think he'll get along better with Draymond.
Brian, who is the most underrated quarterback in the NFL
right now?
Yes,
I'm gonna have to say Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson, he's going to be maybe a Hall of Famer. Are you just saying that because of last year's performance and people think he sucks?
Yeah, last year's performance. I don't know. I've always thought he's always been underrated.
Well, he's kind of annoying. That's good. A lot of people voted Derek Carr the most underrated quarterback. Ryan, are you out there?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Derek Carr, is that true?
Yeah.
Jimmy G, can I get a Jimmy G underrated quarterback? Is that possible?
You're not going to get that.
Jimmy G's not. So hey, last week I asked that question to the guys, Chris and Casey. Who would you rather have, Purdy or Daniel Jones? You weren't able to make it because you were sick, but who do you think you would take, Purdy or Daniel Jones?
Definitely Purdy. I don't know why those guys are taking Daniel Jones.
Well, Casey said he's underrated, Daniel Jones. I think that's who Casey would have said today is Daniel.
I think Casey's hate of the Niners made him take Daniel Jones.
You think that? So that's the guy you're going to go with out of all So just Russell Wilson. How about Mac Jones? Did he keep Hey, you know who I think's underrated?
I probably go Zappy over Mac Jones.
Zappy time. Make him be sure. I really think after Kenny Pickett's Week 1 performance against the Niners, I really feel like he's going to be on that most underrated list as well. I really feel like he's going to have a big season, but I do think that Niners victory in Week 1 will help him, Brian. You're not on with that yet? Come on, Brian. So Carr, people still think Carr is the most underrated. I don't get it. People need to watch him. Is there something with it? Am I the only one watching critical turnovers? Am I the only one watching throws that go nowhere? Am I the only one seeing dump offs all the time? I get that maybe Jimmy G isn't the superior option to take over him, but it's not just because Casey even last week, he's like, he's the quarterback of my childhood. I'm like, what? Dude, he was 24 when you were drafted. He's not the quarterback. Damn it, Richard Gannon was. He's only there 3 years. So I don't know what Casey was talking about there with it either. But I don't know, Brian. I just think that's a little bit over to say about that with Carr. So Carr,
get ready for Week 1. Raiders.
Can you see that Carr's a frustrating point for
Jimmy's daddy, Russell Wilson's going to beat him.
Man, I wish they played this year instead of last year. The Niners Raiders. That would have been a good matchup this year to get Jimmy G back at him, or the Saints Raiders. All right, Brian, what food could you eat the most of in 10 minutes? So you got the hot dog eating contest this week, right? And you got our boy Chestnut out
I
there.
definitely say pizza.
Okay, so how many? Let's say, take a Mary's slice of pizza. Mary's, right? We're all familiar with that locally. That's right, just your random basic slice of pizza, maybe a little thinner than the usual New York style. How many could you eat in 10 minutes? What do you think? How many pieces of cheese pizza?
Probably 2 or 3 slices.
2 or 3 in 10 minutes with for your life on the line? That's how many you're eating, 2 or 3? Brian, my goodness. That Casey probably would have said he could eat 3 pizzas. That's what I was guessing he would have said. Casey probably would have said he would eat 3 pizzas. All right, if you're saying pizza in 10 minutes, I think I could definitely eat at least 4 to 5, maybe 6, Johnson. I could eat that many of there. I think the most, if I was doing hot dogs, I was thinking about how many I could eat in 10 minutes. I mean, I would think at 8 to 10, 8 range, I would start to it'd be a tough watch if you're watching me at 8 to 10 at that point. And then, like Tyler always says, you have to wet the bun. It's like, that's just not something good. I was thinking how about those McDonald's cheeseburgers? I could probably eat a lot of those in 10 minutes. I could probably eat about like 10
or the chicken nuggets.
Oh, the nuggets. What are they? I saw like the 20-piece meal there. I'm like, I bet people get those by themselves. All right, hey, Shohei Ohtani, the best athlete in the world.
Yeah, probably right now because he could pitch and hit.
30 home runs right now. Are you kidding me? He had the other game, 2 home runs, 10 strikeouts. He's ridiculous what he's doing right now. Name a cartoon character you hated as a kid. So like a classic one.
Probably that skunk character in the
Pepe Le Pew?
Yeah, Pepe Le Pew.
What did you have against Pepe? Because
I don't know.
He's a little bit of a.
I thought he was dangerous. He was kind of a little dangerous, a little sleazy.
A little dangerous, a little sleazy. I like it. I've heard controversies about that stuff. So it sounds like he was kind of. I didn't take him off there. I don't know why I hated it. I go Looney Tunes as well, but this character, this one I always didn't like as well was Tweety Bird. I don't know what it is about Tweety Bird. I was not a fan of Tweety Bird at all. I always wanted the damn cat to catch him. I always wanted that. I don't know why that was like, gotta catch that one. That's a good one, Brian, the skunk there for sure. All right, Brian, for you, should the WWE split up the Usos up into individual performers?
No, they're just so good as a tag team that you can't split them up.
Why?
I don't know. It's just, they're the Usos, man. I mean, it's like the Uso penitentiary.
So what ended up happening yesterday at the end of the match?
Basically they just kind of took over the match and ended up both super kicking Roman Reigns in the face.
I feel like every show he's getting super kicked in the face. That's what happened. That should just.
And at the end of the match, an angry Roman Reigns.
Angry Roman Reigns. That's good. So Brian, back to this one real quick. This question right here with the skunk one. I don't know why I also got to say that what's the one that ran fast? I can't think of the name. Right, Roadrunner. I don't know why I always wanted the Coyote to catch it. I feel bad for the bad guy. Maybe that's not a good sign of who I am as a person here. All right, hey, as we get to the end of the pod here, Brian, our winners and losers of the week. Who do you got, Brian, for some of your what do you want to go? Winners or losers first?
I'll do winners.
All right, you give me the winners of the week.
I gotta go Sami Zayn because he was the guy that started it all with the bloodline, and I'm sure he's sitting at home happy now.
That's a good one. I gotta go. We already kind of mentioned a little bit, but you gotta go Bobby Bonilla. Like I said,
yeah.
this is a winner of the week.
That $1 million check.
I heard it's actually is like, I thought it was like just technical when you're talking hundreds of thousands, but it's like 1.6, I guess, because I guess the Orioles had to take on some of it. So they pay like a good portion of it as well. I still want to know the answer. Why don't they just pay it in a whole? Like there must be some reason they've never chucked it together. Winner of the week, because I don't know what he's doing. Hopkins from the Patriots. Is he just holding out to get a massive contract? What's going on with him? I have no idea what he's doing at all whatsoever. Brian, I thought this was kind of a winner of the week because we were talking All-Star game. I thought it'd be kind of fun to look back at old times here. So this was the starting lineup. all right, for the All-Star game in 1993, 30 years ago. For the NL starting lineup here, Marquise Grissom, center field, Barry Bonds, left field, Gary Sheffield, third base, John Kruk, first base, Barry Larkin, shortstop, Mark Grace, DH, David Justice, right field, Darren Dalton, catcher, Ryan Sandberg, second base, your starting pitcher, Terry Mulholland, and your manager, Bobby Cox. For the AL, you had Roberto Alomar, second base, Paul Molitor, DH, Ken Griffey, center field, Joe Carter, right field, Casey's favorite Met, John Olerud, Kirby Puckett, left field, Cal Ripken, shortstop, Wade Boggs, third base, Ivan Rodriguez, catcher, and Mark Langston, your pitcher. So you had a pitching matchup of Mulholland and Langston. I thought it was a winner of the week looking back at the old all-star starting lineup. So there's some old names there, man, we haven't heard in a while there.
I saw the list. Rod Beck made the All-Star team.
Rod Beck, one of the Giants on there. I wonder who made it from the A's. Terry Steinbach looks like he represented the A's.
And then Robbie Thompson made it too from the Giants.
From Giants out there, yeah. There's a couple that there's a couple names like a Dwayne Ward. I'll never know who a Dwayne Ward is. Everybody else on that team, I would recognize.
I think Steinbach was the representative for the A's.
Yep, he was. Cito Gaston was the manager. The only other name I don't recognize in the AL is a guy named what was it? Scott Cooper. I see Robbie Thompson made it for the Giants at second base there as well. Yeah, so it was fun looking back at that. So winner of the week, looking back at some of the old names there with the All-Star game there in '93. Brian, hard to believe that was 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Next week, I got to do a deep dive into the 2003. What a little bit looking at that one go. 30 years ago, wasn't that? Brian, speaking of that, Ryan, 30 years ago with that list, it's funny. I used to tape the All-Star game, right? It was, to me, the All-Star game was cool back then. There was something about them, and I hope they go back to wearing the different uniforms this year. Like, I really hope they go back to that where they wear the different uniforms. Like, to me, that would be a big deal with it. It's funny to see all those, like a couple of Phillies on that list as well. Gary Sheffield at third base playing for the Marlins, though. That's kind of a funny one. Crazy. That he played for the Marlins. I just thought that was kind of you don't see that whatever all the time over there. Ivan Rodriguez, an early pudge on that list. Let's see who ended up winning that game.
I think it was the AL.
Yeah, AL won 9-3. Let's see who our player. We had Gary Sheffield hit a home run. Your boy Barry hit a double. Well, let's see who the AL we had there. AL MVP. Roberto Alomar hit a home run in that game, and the Kirby Puckett was your MVP.
Kirby Puckett.
So there you go with it. So that was kind of fun looking back at the 93 or the 93 in there. So I thought that was kind of a funny winner of the week. Next week we'll have to do our 20-year one. Looking back at it, Brian. Just a little trivia there. If you had to guess who would be the starter for the NL, I'll give you a clue. He played for the Giants. You remember who the starter in 2003 would be? Yeah.
Tim Lincecum.
That's a good guess, except for 10 years too early.
Okay.
Jason Schmidt. Jason, Jason, I need to take it. You know what? He was the starter there. And then the starter for the AL. Okay, I'll give you a clue. He pitched for the White Sox, and then he pitched for the A's. Then he got arrested a few years later.
God,
the A's actually signed this guy. He's a right-handed pitcher.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Esteban Loaiza.
Yeah.
So that's over there. Remember the A's signed him to a deal. So that was kind of a fun looking back at that. Our winners there. We'll have to deep dive into one of them more when the All-Star games actually start up. It's fun looking back at the old rosters like that, man. Like, that's how you know you're getting old, when you enjoy history like that. Sometimes it's like when you really enjoy history like that, it's like, I feel like, man, I'm just like looking back at that Iverson Billups trade even. I'm just like, I don't know. That was just something cool about that. So, Ryan, 30 years ago, man, hard to believe. Man, I was looking back, thinking about us doing literally Tyler's son's Bentley's doing an All-Star game right now. He said right now, I think he said 10-year All-Star game. He said they played Petaluma National. I think he said they lost by a run. So shout out to them. They have a game at 2:00. Hopefully they get a win today. Tyler, I know, is helping out with that team. But I was thinking back to when me and him coached. I was like, that was 20 years ago. It was crazy how long ago time flies.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Stuff like that. It's nuts. All right, so back to our winners and losers of the week there. Like I said, Bobby, looking back at that stuff. Brian, you got a loser of the week?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to go Antonio Brown again. He withheld money from players, so he's losing it.
So how is he? Is he an owner or what again?
Yeah, he's the owner of an arena football team. It's so random.
So the arena, and he's singing right now, right on the side or something.
Yeah.
I saw one.
And then they end up getting kicked out of the league because he wouldn't pay a fine or something.
That seems to be an ongoing thing with him. I've noticed is that he doesn't pay people for things. Like there was something I remember the movie truck back in the day or something like that. Like he had trouble paying with it. Loser of the week. I saw something like, and he's like now doing music all the time. I saw some scene where he's like faking like I tore my ACL, and then he ends up doing a flip or something like that on stage. All right, so you got loser of the week, Antonio Brown. That was a good one for sure. I got loser of the week. I said me for the Woj bomb, falling for the Woj bomb again. Every year I fall for one, man. Every year. And then P Shark tweeted me, he's like, "You got him," and I was like, God. And then I was like, damn it, every year again. I was like, Harden, I think got me a few years ago on one, and then I did it. I forget the one that got me last year, but Van Vliet thinking he signed with the Celtics, unbelievable. I fell for that. Like I said, A's get perfect game. I don't know how that cannot be a loser of the week. Just every year.
Bad way to go out of Oakland.
The Twitter view thing, I don't even understand that. I don't know. I guess Elon's trying to get rid of the bots. I guess that's a way of getting rid of the bots. I guess that's the way to do it in that regard. Brian, those are my losers of the week. And then I also got to say, I mean, like I said, we talked about the Mets a lot last week, so I don't want to stay on them. But man, just like I said, no team dumpster fires like them. Like when they burn in a season, they go hard. Like they don't just like. I mean, you're supposed to be good. They don't like hang right in there. They just go all the way. So I'm always impressed with the Mets when they dumpster fire like that, impressively. So Brian, those are our winners and losers of the week this week. Good podcast, Casey. Casey obviously had technical difficulties. Sorry for a little bit of that at the beginning. Appreciate you guys commenting in and taking the time to do it every week. Thank you, Right, you got to remember that. Fisher, every week, loser of the week. This guy deserves it. Hashtag sell the team, you big loser. You have a 9-acre park. You could have got that in Oakland. The A's could have done that for you. Instead, you are manipulating the situation. You cheap little, you know what?
Yeah.
Sell that team. Casey did go to the game last week, but I know he went to the one before they got perfect game. It'd be weird to go to a game. 24, to me, that's so crazy. 24 perfect games. For how long baseball's been going on? There's only been 24 of those things. And the A's now want to get to them. There hadn't been one since 2012.
Yeah, it's been a while then.
Do you remember through the last
one? No, I don't.
Ryan, I'm just crushing you today, right? Felix Hernandez through the last one. Matt Cain threw one. And then Philip Humber, the famous Philip Humber, threw one as well over there. So those are the ones from that week. So that was a good winners and losers of the week. Another good winner is July 4th. I like July 4th weekend. I always get that.
Fireworks.
Most people get that day off for the most part. My son has to do summer school that day. Got to shout him out. He'll be working. So I feel like I need to at least do yard work to keep up my end of the slack there to do something on that side of it. So like I said, it's fun doing the show here. Big shout out to everybody that follows with it. If you do follow us, if the more you can help promote us, the best. Like Ryan and Tyler had commented in like this, the more we can get closer to 500 subs, the more this thing can grow. So just appreciate anybody interacting with us and helping out with that. Make sure you get the sweatshirt here, rock it wherever you can. Again, just we enjoy doing this show every week. Kind of just a good place for us to talk sports as friends come together. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Thanks for taking your time to watch the show as well. Like I said, shout out to our guys, to my guy Tyler over here following. T, hope everything's going well with you. Man, I got the All-Star game today. Good luck with that with Bentley. Who do you play today? You play Road. I'm guessing. So whenever we would lose the first game, I always felt like we played. I said we played Road at Park or something like that, or Katati, and then Tyler's like, because they were bad, and then Tyler's like, I asked Tyler, he goes, they don't even have a team anymore. So that tells you that you don't play. That's how bad they are. The other team that always struggled, I always felt, was Healdsburg. That was the team that was struggled a little bit on there. So that was the team. So we'll see who Tyler plays today. I think he's in the Sebastopol League or something like that. So good luck against Petaluma or whoever you're playing today, Tyler. Ryan, thanks for commented in, man. We appreciate you. I need that Shark stuff, like hockey, once a week. So it's good that we talked a little. Your advice to not buy the Sharks tickets. I'm still going to try to maybe sell them when they make the playoffs. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. Fisher, like you said, loser of the week. I also got a shout out again, my guy Terrell from Realism. I know he's going through some things there, his family there. So I got a shout out him. Said prayers up to him. Mom falling in, Aunt, all those guys. Brian, anybody you want to shout out this week?
I just all the people that follow us, like just keep following us and commenting, and yeah, that's basically it.
Brian, I couldn't say better than that. All right, gentlemen. Fatboy FadeAway.
Right.
We're closing in on 150 here. All right, Brian. Till next week. Everybody have a safe 4th of July.
Peace.
Peace.